Hello and welcome to the Wrap Up Live. This is the official Raptors Republic live post-game show where myself, Kyle Brickman, Aiden Moss, and Don Yang in the background are here to recap the latest Raptors game. I'm your host, obviously, Sahal Abdi. I'm here with my guys. Again, guys, don't forget this because the Raptors are coming off back-to-back losses, and now we get a nice blowout win. And I know a lot of you guys probably didn't watch the fourth quarter, which is understandable. I get it. But the Brooklyn Nets do not look like an NBA team. I don't know if that's because of the Raptors or if that's just the truth. They haven't been good for the last, I'd say, over 4 to 6 weeks. They have not been a good basketball team, and the Raptors took advantage tonight. They defeated the Brooklyn Nets 133-97, bringing the Raptors record to 33-27 on the year in 60 games played for the Raptors. Now, guys, I'm not going to ask what happened in the second half because I know we were all in and out of it. We saw a lot of bench guys get a lot of run. Let's talk about the point in the game where the Raptors took the lead and they did not look back. And a lot of that had to do with Scottie Barnes, which was very cool to see. Malachi Flynn came in and made an impact on this game. What was the point of no return at this point for the Nets? Welcome back to Aiden Moss, by the way, who joins us again. Aiden, what did you think about that, the first half for the Raptors, them pulling away?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I was thinking about Malachi Flynn, and like this is kind of one of those points with Nick Nurse that I like kind of contend with, which is like you gotta know your personnel a little bit, and you gotta let guys know that you have confidence in them. And Malachi is clearly one of those guys who's pretty confident in himself, but I think he needs that stamp of approval. I think like having a point guard who was making decisive choices early and attacking, like linearly and directly is something Toronto desperately needs. Even Freddie doesn't do it at times. Freddie kind of plays with the ball, whatever. And I think Malachi tonight did a good job of cutting into that Brooklyn defense. And part of it was he was hitting shots, but I think part of it is that he just, he got that like go ahead from Nurse being the starting point guard and handed the reins over.
Kyle, were you shocked at the fact that Malachi Flynn got a start in this one, or was it just Malachi got it and we run with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. It's the Nets team that is on a terrible stretch. So I'm not sure if Malachi starts this game, if it's like, the Celtics, a team that's like on fire right now. But this was a good opportunity for Nurse to instill some confidence in him. And I thought he responded really well. He was like a team high plus 42. He was hitting his shots, which like the only difference between tonight and I guess Saturday was that he was hitting his shots, because I thought he was terrific in both games, really. And this is a really good sign for the Raptors. If this is a reliable bench piece for them moving forward, and they can like proudly say that they have a 7-man rotation, maybe a decent 6.5-man rotation, like this kind of changes the outlook of this team. So I don't know. We'll see how long as Fred is out as well. I will say, like, if Flynn's playing like this and the stretch upcoming for the Raptors is as easy as it looks, get Fred like some rest. If Flynn can play like this, just let Fred get healthy. I don't want to rush him back.
Yeah, I mean, Brooklyn is it's not 100% if they're going to get Kevin Durant back tomorrow. They did say he was out for this game pretty early on. Kyrie Irving obviously cannot play in Brooklyn, nor can he play in Toronto at this point. So it's looking a lot like we're going to see the same two teams go at it tomorrow. And why would you play Fred VanVleet when you blow the Nets out by 40 the night before? And then you also have Detroit on Thursday. But as you guys know, and as we mentioned before, the Detroit Pistons are the bane of the Raptors' existence. So not looking too much ahead, even though it's very easy to do when you're coming off of a blowout. In this game, one of the weirder aspects was Pascal Siakam. In a game where, like I said, Precious, Malachi, Scottie all stood out. Pascal Siakam struggled a bit, at least on the floor shooting. I'll ask you guys really quickly, do you guys think it's a little bit worrying? And do you think maybe this is the point in the season where Nick Nurse goes, okay, we just blew out the Nets pretty easily. Is this the moment where now we give Pascal a little bit of rest and maybe rest him? And I guess Fred VanVleet. If Fred VanVleet's available tomorrow and he's ready to play, maybe you just rest him as well. Or is that just overkill at that point? I'll ask Adon.
It is concerning. This is his third game in a row where he's kind of struggling. I think certainly against Charlotte and to some degree against Atlanta, there was like some lethargy with Pascal and with all of them, frankly. I think we've been harping on this all year. Is like you got to develop that bench. You got to give him some confidence. Like again, like Yuta shows up and immediately puts points on the board. Like I don't know why we can't start rotating these guys in consistently. That's the thing to me is that, you know, Delano goes on a 4-game run and then you don't see him for 5 games, and Malachi makes an appearance and then takes off. You know, like I think to sustain our starters for the remainder of the season, we need to have this bench coming in on a consistent basis. And like letting them get through some of those, like, you know, those struggles that they might have. So yeah, I would say like let's take those 38 minutes of Pascal's and wind them down to like, you know, 28 or 30 if we can, or at least ramp it up in the third or fourth quarter. You know.
Yeah, because he did say he was sick, right? A couple games prior.
Right.
And then he played a back-to-back. It's only 1 day of rest and then plays Brooklyn in Brooklyn. So, Kyle, do you think this is the opportunity to maybe look at resting some of the star guys for the Raptors?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think it was LeBron talking about it either last year or the year before. And he mentioned something like a lot of guys prefer, or it's like better on the body to actually just not get ramped up at all and not play rather than like play fewer minutes. Like I think a lot of the time it's better to just rest an entire night instead of going through the routine, because there's very little difference between like 34 and 38 minutes, but there's a very big difference between like 38 minutes and 0 minutes, obviously. So maybe this is an opportunity to like just tell Pascal, especially if it's like you're playing like you are tonight, just you know, take a seat on the bench tomorrow night. It's a back-to-back, relax. It's not like the Raptors don't have you know, it's not like there's no precedent for the Raptors doing this. I think they quite literally invented like load management. And Nick Nurse was the guy who invented load management, and it's ironic that he's like playing his guys into the ground now. But I'd like to see Siakam get a rest tomorrow night. I think I'd like to see Fred get a rest tomorrow night as well, even if he can come back. I don't know what Birch's deal is. He's playing terribly. I think I might have cursed him. Like I came out and said I thought he was like the 6th best player in the team, 5th best player in the team. He's not. So I think if he's still injured, he needs a rest. And like it's hard to say. Like Achiuwa's hitting every possible shot. Yuta's hitting every possible shot. Thad Young is hit 3 corner threes tonight. So it's easy to think like, well, there'll be no drop off in terms of like shooting. There will be. But I don't think it'll matter against the Nets. I don't think it'll matter. I mean, who they play after the Nets. Like, I think this next little stretch is like, this should be an extension of the All-Star break.
Yeah, I think it definitely should. Adon, I know you wanted to quickly say something, and we'll get into like player by player like we usually do later on. But a lot of people in the comments are mentioning that the Nets are a broken team. This is a team that obviously did not have Kyrie Irving, did not have Kevin Durant. But I think this was the perfect opportunity for the Raptors to go, you know what? We've lost a lot of games we probably should have won this year. I mentioned Detroit earlier as one of the examples of that. These are the exact games that the Raptors need to win, no?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the last 2 games were too. I mean, you just take it for what it is. We can't overemphasize these things, but if you're hitting shots, you're hitting shots. And it's like Precious has played like this for 3 games straight now. Particularly with the Atlanta game and then now this, it's like, so I think you can derive like trends out of this, even though it's against a practice squad. But yeah, let's highlight the fact that Thad and Malachi playing against Goran made Goran look like, you know, like he.
Are we getting into it? Are we doing it? Okay,
let's do it. Like,
okay, Goran Dragic. A man who, did not play for the Raptors all that much this year, played very early on, was benched. Yeah, we're gonna need it, Don. We're gonna need exactly
Give him the
what
line,
Goran
Don.
did tonight, because the fact of the matter is, Raptors fans, you could relish in your joy, relish in triumph, glee, whatever synonym you want to use, exuberance, delight, happiness. You can rejoice. We are elated, okay, Raptors fans, that not only did the Raptors blow out Goran Dragic's team, but this man who quite literally plays defense, like that 58-year-old guy that comes to the YMCA, that every time you drive past him, he's going to foul you or hip check you on the way there. This is Goran Dragic. This is a man who, like I said, did not play for the Raptors much. And when he did, he looked absolutely horrific. And I'm so glad. I speak for a lot of Raptors fans. I'm so glad that he's off this team. He played 17 minutes. He went 1 for 5. He had a couple turnovers. Thank you, Don, for the little backup you gave me. He had a couple turnovers. That was the best part. And Goran Dragic, one of the most hated, players, I think, in Raptors, in fans' minds for a very long time, in Raptors fans' minds. He was a minus 24. Yeah, that's Goran Dragic. He, I don't know. Maybe he's gonna come out and say that was a shout out to Kobe Bryant or something like that. The minus 24, but it's difficult. It's difficult to watch a player of his caliber, and I'm glad he gets to rot in the place that is Brooklyn. Yeah, and then the best part is, guys, it doesn't end there. We get to see him tomorrow, or we get to beat his ass tomorrow again. Kyle, what do you think? Okay, Kyle's muted. He doesn't know he's muted.
No, I'm having like difficulties. I was saying, like, it's funny. People always talk about like old man game, like it's a compliment. Like, he's got that old man in the pickup game. Like, have you ever seen those guys play defense? Like, it's cool on offense. Those guys are not good. Like, it is not the compliment that people seem to think it is.
It's funny because Malachi Flynn, sat behind Goran Dragic very early in the year, and he was probably looking at this guy like, how in the hell are you playing over me? And he's going into this game going, you know what? I'm facing that guy tonight, and this is my moment. So, shout out to Malachi Flynn, absolutely torching Goran Dragic over and over again. Quite literally, Goran was playing one on point of attack defense all the way at the top. I don't know why it seemed like he was pressing him almost until the half court line, and then Malachi Flynn was like, "Okay, Goran, I think you might have forgot you're 43 years old, so I'm just gonna blow past you, and you don't really have rim protection. You got LaMarcus Aldridge, who was getting absolutely demolished by Scottie Barnes in this game."
I was going to say we should talk Scottie. We should go from the oldest man on the court to the probably youngest.
Can I just say that they interviewed Dragic, and he said that he and Toronto mutually agreed that it wasn't going to work, and it's like that's got to be complete bullshit. Like he very clearly chose to not be a part of this team, and like. Especially during our lows, we could have used quote unquote the theory of Goran Dragic, and in practice maybe it wouldn't have made a difference. But there was certainly space and time for him, even during the COVID protocols, to be like an effective member of this team. Instead, he's gonna he chose to opt out. And he goes to Brooklyn, which I don't know why Brooklyn picks him up, to be honest. They have so many small guards.
It's freaking terrible, man.
Doesn't make sense on that team.
On that team.
It's really on any team. But
there we go. There we go. That's better.
But there are better teams that where he would get more minutes and like fit more seamlessly. But with Brooklyn, it doesn't really make any sense.
I think he might be closing with the Lakers if he chose them. It'd be a huge step back.
Or even like Milwaukee. Like Milwaukee would have made a lot of sense, I think.
Yeah.
Milwaukee's a team that could shore up how tragic he looks defensively. You know what? Maybe the funniest part is we're gonna have time to get into Scottie Barnes and Precious and all these guys, but one of the funniest parts was Brooklyn. And it's not really Jacques Vaughn, who was the stand-in coach today for Steve Nash, who entered COVID protocols. It wasn't really Jacques Vaughn's fault. I mean, you just got to play who you have. And he rolled out, I mean, we talk about defense. He rolled out Seth Curry and Goran Dragic. I could find two guys two CIS guys. I mentioned this in our group chat. I could find two CIS guys.
Yo, it's not CIS
I could-
anymore, no?
Oh, is it not?
I don't think so. It's like U Sport or something.
I could find two U Sports. I could find, remember that? I could find varsity guys who play high school basketball right now who would torch Dragic and Steph Curry in isolation. It was hilarious for them to roll those two guys out. And Malachi Flynn, who has had an underwhelming year, even when he's played, to be quite honest, we can't act like, he's literally gotten 0 minutes this season. Like, he's played and he hasn't really been confident, but a lot of that probably has been because he hasn't played much. He came out of the blue, started, and just torched these guys, and it was absolutely amazing to watch. And like I said, Raptors fans, we get to replay it tomorrow, so I cannot wait for that. Goran Dragic, oh my goodness, it's going to be great. I think Brooklyn would have had a better chance if he was watching the Miami Heat game today in the stands.
Hamdi, you should have been here Friday, Saturday. Like, we were humbled. It was a very humble experience Friday, Saturday. Trust
Extremely.
me.
Yeah.
But we should talk Scottie though, because
yes.
I think he ended the first half like 10 for 10, 24 points, which was like, I think that if he just had his first half performance, that would have been like a top 5 performance for a rookie this year. He finishes 12 for 14, 16 rebounds. 9 of those offensive rebounds, 4 assists, 5 steals, 28 points. He did have 5 turnovers, but he was trying to cook at the end. I don't care. He was trying to cook at the end of the game. That doesn't bother me. In fact, it's kind of a nothing. It's kind of a nothing game. Like, it didn't really make a difference. But there was a time in which Scottie was 10 for 10 and Siakam was like 2 for 13, and that just doesn't sit right with me. Like, it's his world. When you haven't missed in an entire half of basketball, you got to let him like take over. I'm sorry.
It's also like, awesome. I know we can't overreact to this game, and we shouldn't, but A, this is just a good performance against a bad team or not, and B, it's been again like a running trend. Against Charlotte, I'm mixing up Charlotte and Atlanta because I watched them all today, but he obviously the removal of OG from the lineup has given Scottie more space to operate and do his thing, and this is the future Scottie that we can see flourish. It's clear that he just needs the space to do so and to operate, and I think that's the silver lining of losing OG is it's giving Precious and Scottie space to operate and kind of do their thing.
Yeah, we got to talk about Scottie when he breaks a 25-year record that was previously held by Marcus Camby out of all Raptors, the rookie record for most first half points 25 years ago. Marcus Camby, almost to the date, like we're close to March 18th too. March 18th, 1997. Which commenters out there? You guys, anybody watching? You guys remember Marcus Camby in a Raptors jersey? Anybody? No, it wasn't your time. That's fine. That's totally fine. I honestly, if it were up to me, guys, this is one of those days where, or nights, I should say, where I just want to do Goran Dragic slander for like another 30 minutes. But like, we can't do that because we actually have to talk about things. So we talked about Scottie. He had an incredible game, maybe his best game of the year. I mean, efficiency wise, definitely. Defensively, he looked good. But again, this is a Brooklyn Nets team that is just horrific, man. They are horrible. Let's talk about a guy who in his last 2 games has 41 points, 16 for 26 shooting from the field. Precious Achiuwa. That's a good tweet. I like that tweet. There's Oren Weisfeld, our guy, who tweeted, Nick Nurse says, Precious Achiuwa is making really aggressive and composed moves. Says he is getting to good spots and doing it with force. Aiden, don't you think when you watch Precious, you just see a difference in it doesn't really look like he's just thinking on the go. It's almost like if something's there, he'll take it, right? Everything, like Nick Nurse says, looks a lot more composed. And I have to agree with Nick Nurse when he says he's been aggressive as well. Like I said, 41 points in his last 2 games. This is a totally different Precious Achiuwa, and maybe Nick Nurse is starting to get to something when, he essentially said that, Precious Achiuwa is part of their core of 6 or 7 guys this year. What do you think about the development you've seen from Precious? It's just been incredible.
It's like it's crazy. I don't know if he was inspired by the sophomore rookie game or whatever. But I mean, the biggest thing is
Oh my
that
goodness.
is his finish. You know, he's getting to the rim, he's creating contact, and then he's going up square. Like, that's not what he was doing before. Before, he was panicking and just throwing it up at the rim, and it was god awful. And that was literally like 10 days ago. It's pretty wild. Again, I don't know. Is that a confidence thing? Is that the space for him to do that? I'm not sure, but it just has suddenly clicked, and it's quite something. Atlanta, he was 8 for 12, same thing. 3 for 8 in Charlotte, but and sometimes that's all it takes is just you need that, especially for these young guys. You just need to see the ball go in the hoop a couple times. You need to know that like what you're doing can work, and you have confidence, and that's sometimes all it takes.
Yeah, Kyle, what did you think about Precious' game? Again, he just looks like a totally different player, and the fact that he was, by the way, he was attacking Andre Drummond, who, yes, defensively is probably not the smartest player, but athletically the guy's gifted. Like he can shut down some guys in the paint if he really wants to, and he had no fear of a guy like Andre Drummond or really LaMarcus Aldridge, who's a massive guy. We're talking a really wide guy with a long wingspan. He looked unstoppable, Precious, at points in this game.
Yeah, I think I think what Nurse says obviously like really rang true. It's the composure. Like when you do these like 7 or 8 like lateral side to side dribbles, like sizing people up, it wears on you. It takes a lot of mental like acuity to do all that kind of stuff. And then you're like worn out by the time you get to the rim. He's just like grabbing and going. You just he grabs the ball off of like a swing and goes. There are a couple clips where he grabs the ball in the backcourt and just gets downhill. There's no like size ups, little hesitations and stuff like that. It's like just getting downhill and getting to the rack. Like that's the type of player he should be. I think he was too bold trying to be like, Oren always says it is true. He was trying to be Kevin Durant when really it's like, just be honest, just get downhill. You don't need to size people up. You don't need to threaten a jump shot and do all this hesitation stuff. Look, he just catches the ball and goes right to the rim, like one crossover to the rim. Like it's perfect. I don't know. I think this is like the type of, he can stick to this type of offense until he develops as an isolation scorer, I think the Raptors are in a really good spot. I think he has to be playing also down the stretch, which presents a little problem.
I think now we're starting to see why reps, Nick Nurse kept, reiterating the same thing. Precious, just give him reps. This is a year where the Raptors don't necessarily have championship aspirations or anything of the sort. So as much as, Pascal and Fred and some of those guys look like they're in their prime, Gary maybe has a little bit of a ways to go, but this is also a developmental year. And I think the reps make a lot of sense for Precious. And now we're starting to see the fruits of Precious' labor. Look at, October as a month, Precious shot 39% from the field, 20% from 3. November, he shot 37% from the field, 33% from 3. And now we're all the way in February, about to be in March. You guys almost caught me. It's Ontario. It's cold. I just want this stuff to end. In February now, we're at 47% from the field, and get this, 47% from 3 for Precious Achiuwa. Totally different player. And if the Raptors can finally get consistent bench play that's led by a guy like Precious, because let's be honest, Chris Boucher's been on and off this year. He went really cold to begin the season, then he went super hot, and now it's just like somewhere in between where we don't know which Chris Boucher we're going to get. Precious has been consistent this month. He's been very consistent. So I'm glad that the Raptors seem like they're getting a player that's developing before our eyes.
Another thing for Precious, sorry to interrupt, was just that it does make a world of a difference when you're hitting your shot. And like that, it's just like, it's a pretty simple thing, but he's hitting that corner 3 against Atlanta. He hit the corner 3, then he baseline cut, then it's like, and everything just evolves naturally once that shot is dropping. And it keeps guys like Andre Drummond, who's not exactly fast-footed, but it keeps him kind of like having to lean forward more than he would otherwise.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say, like, it's worth talking about what this offense looks like without OG in it, and it's a lot more touches for Scottie, and it's a lot more touches for Achiuwa, and those guys are kind of proving that they deserve touches. I get that, like, they've been playing mediocre teams, and we'll see, because it seems like OG is going to be out for like a month or so, if not more. But these guys are proving that they need touches. I don't know. Did you guys see the Kevin O'Connor piece that he put it, like, he was like part of? Don, can you bring that up? It was part of like a column for the Ringer. This first paragraph, I'll just read it off of my screen.
I like that headline.
Here's a weird stat that I stumbled on when researching the Raptors. So far this season, 71 NBA players have tried to score out of an isolation play at least 100 times. OG Anunoby ranks last in efficiency. Fred VanVleet ranks second to last, and they're at the bottom by a large margin. They're the only two players scoring under 0.7 points per isolation. Like, Gary Trent Jr. Is the third place in the entire league at that rate.
Holy
OG
shoot.
is not a good isolation player. I think he's a tremendous basketball player, and I'm not trying to disparage the man, but he's not great in isolation. Fred, this is evidence, visual evidence that these guys are not great in isolation.
Like, OG is good in the post, though.
Yeah, sure. Exactly. But that's like a mismatch. That more pertains to like going, like, abusing a mismatch more than like giving him outside touches. Those shots that OG is vacating right now because he's not playing, there's a good argument that they should be going to Scottie or Precious, especially if they're playing like this. And we'll see over, with more volume, especially against better teams, what efficiency Scottie and Precious are operating on in isolation. But I don't want to see it's the worst in the league. I do not want to see OG isolations anymore.
I think some of it is Freddie's often asked to bail everybody out at the end of shot clocks, as is Gary. So, I mean, there's that too. But I think and I mentioned this earlier, like, Fred's problem is he does get a little bit dribble happy. And I do notice that sometimes he kills, like, there was twice against Atlanta where Thad had like 3 seconds left on the shot clock, and they had 2 shot clock violations, and it's just kind of like Freddie's trying to get something that's not always there. And so, I mean, not having him, so, I mean, taking him a little bit out of ISO and keeping him more in the pick and rolls and other things like that is fine. But yeah, it's an interesting find.
And
I mean, this has been a storyline the whole year. I don't want to completely go off track here, but who gets the ball in that last possession? People in the comments are already giving their opinion. Mike here says, what about a Siakam ISO? We've seen that before. We've seen the Fred isolation. We've seen Fred and have Siakam screen for him. We've seen the vice versa of that, where Siakam has the ball and Fred screens for him. We've seen Gary Trent Jr. get the ball in some isolation situations. Really, the only guy who I don't remember getting the ball that often in those final possessions is probably OG Anunoby. They like using him as a decoy, sitting him in a corner. I'm not 100% sure who I give the ball to in that scenario, because I'm very aware that Pascal Siakam is the best basketball player on the Raptors. Fred probably comes in second. But maybe those guys don't necessarily deserve the shots. I mean, statistics are statistics, and in pure isolation, you can see on the article to our left that those two in pure isolation cannot do that for you. I mean, I'm fully okay with the screens. I'm totally fine with that. But if you're going to go full out isolation, I think maybe you go Gary Trent Jr.
So, according to NBA.com, Toronto's best points per possession is Gary at 1.09 and Scottie at 0.89, and then Pascal at 0.84. But the difference is Pascal has 5 possessions in ISO per game. The other two have
against
like
good defenders.
Yeah,
against
and the other
really
two are 1.5. So to me, the answer is give Pascal the ball. He's also like the best passer out of isolation in those guys. Scottie's a really good passer, but only when he can like kind of like survey what's going on. Pascal's been much better doing it on the go, and Gary just doesn't pass. So I think the answer, I don't mind reducing Freddie in isolation. I don't think that's where he's best suited. But I think Pascal is by far our best player, quote unquote, in isolation.
Yeah, I probably say the same. It's just very tough because, like Kyle says, and we all agree with this, the best defenders, wing defenders, are usually placed on Pascal Siakam. So if you're facing a hypothetical Boston, let's say, and Tatum or Jaylen Brown is on Siakam, who are very, very good defenders in their own right, I'm not 100% sure. Do you kind of just switch it up? Do you, because, you know, most teams in the league have probably one or two go-to guys in that final possession. I could already see in the comments you guys are disagreeing all over the place with who. Everyone has a different opinion on who they want to get the ball. I'm seeing a lot of Gary should get the ball if the Raptors are looking to score. You know, we probably think that Siakam is maybe in a pure isolation. Siakam or Gary's the best bet for the Raptors. I think Fred at this point is probably, I think he maybe should be used more as a decoy than anything. But in the Raptors case, they don't have a full-fledged superstar. I mean, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago. If you were to ask us this question, we would probably say Kawhi Leonard in the championship year, you know, without much of a doubt. But the Raptors do not have a top 10 player in the world right now. They do not roster that type of player. So I'm not even sure if Nick Nurse has answered this question himself, because I've seen it all, guys, in that final possession. I've seen every single scenario.
To me, if Gary evolves enough as a passer, I think the best late game option, like their best sets, are going to basically stem from like a Gary Pascal pick and roll, because Pascal's such a good passer out of the short roll, and Fred and OG are good spot up shooters, and Scottie's amazing in the dunker spot. Scottie spent all night in the dunker spot tonight and like was cooking. My problem is like, so if you look at a team like the Lakers, right? They have an issue with Russell Westbrook because he has to be involved with every single action because he does not space the floor. Fred's not like that. OG's not like that. Those guys are floor spacers. It's not like, oh, well, we can't play them if they're not involved in the action. You can. Fred won a championship being a floor spacer. OG like has been a floor spacer his entire career. I mean, these guys are tremendous floor spacers. I just don't know if they need to be as involved on the ball.
Yeah.
I think the answer is both. I mean, there are quarters where Gary's on ball and Fred's on ball and he's tearing an entire team down with his 58-foot three-pointers. Like, there will be a time and place for that, but I think this is an important discussion, because when it comes to playoffs and defenses are set, I think Fred really struggles to penetrate set offenses. And is more of a threat on a weak side as a shooter and as an attacker than somebody like OG is, or even Pascal for that matter. Like, so it's like, you know, he's not only is he not necessarily our best option in isolation, but he's one of our best options on a driving kick or on a shifting defense. So it will be interesting. That being said, we don't really have a guy who can walk the ball up the court and direct our team yet. I think Scottie could be that eventually, and Pascal has done it. But I don't know that I want Pascal doing that all the time. So that's the other problem. It was kind of interesting in Atlanta seeing Malachi and Fred play side by side. And Malachi's going to play like this against smaller teams, at least. It would be interesting to see the two of them paired like they did with Lowry and Fred before.
Yeah. One player that I think we haven't mentioned as much compared to the others, and maybe that's rightfully so, considering Scottie Barnes and Malachi Flynn are probably the players of the game beside Precious Achiuwa, is Thaddeus Young, who is a guy that hasn't looked out of place. I wouldn't even say it's really all that surprising, because when the Raptors first traded for him, one thing I continuously mentioned was his high basketball IQ, and the fact that a high basketball IQ can really ease your transition into playing very difficult systems that Nick Nurse runs. Thaddeus Young, Chris Walder at Walder Sports, he tweeted, Thaddeus Young tied Goran Dragic on the Raptors all-time scoring list tonight. Oh my goodness, is that poetic, everybody? Isn't that poetic? He's saving the big moment for the home crowd. I love it. I love it.
Do you follow him,
Don,
Saul? He has
Who-
this.
Chris-
This is like a
Chris
bit
Walder.
he's been doing for all season, I guess. I know
I follow
Aiden
Chris.
knows. This is one of like the best bits on Raptors Twitter. He just like posts updates about who passes who on the career list. Like when Scottie passed Aaron Baines, it was like one of the biggest moments. Like he is really
Yeah,
like.
and Malachi and Scottie for a while were like going back and forth. It was kind of funny too.
Yeah. Chris is a great follow, guys. If you don't follow Chris Walder, you are missing out. His tweets, much like this one, are some of the best tweets out there on Raptors Twitter. So you have to follow Walder Sports. This is poetic. I was just about to mention that the guy that we acquired for Goran Dragic, had a pretty good game, and here we are with Chris Walder's tweet that he's already tied Goran Dragic on the all-time Raptors scoring list. I love it. I absolutely love it, guys. Have you been happy with what you've seen from Thaddeus Young? The fact that he's shooting the ball. He's 3 for 3 from 3. This guy looks good in 15 minutes, 4 for 6. In 15 minutes, he was a plus 18. Thaddeus Young looks like a guy that Nick Nurse can rely on for the future. Would you guys agree? Aiden, would you agree?
I was so in on the trade before. I wanted him last year from the Bulls. 2 years ago when he played meaningful minutes for the Bulls, he was shooting, like 34% on 4 attempts a game from 3. So he's actually capable of doing this. He's just he can do a little bit of everything, and you can rely on him, and that's really what matters. Like when you're trying to fill out a bench, you want to be able to put a guy out there that's not going to be bad. I don't know if you guys listen to Chris Vernon, but he's just like if you want to be a good team, you need to have no bad players on your team, and that's one of those guys, and he can do more, and I want to see more. Like they haven't really run a lot of DHOs for him. They haven't really run him in a lot of pick and rolls. Like his passing ability and his whirl and twirls can really like devastate in a half court, which is important for our team who's not so great in the half court.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Kyle, what do you think? Because Thad Young, I don't have a problem with anything he's done really thus far. There weren't super high expectations. He's a rotation player coming in. He's a bit of an older guy relative to the rest of the Raptors roster, and it seems like people in the comments as well have been fine with how Thaddeus has played thus far.
Yeah, my only concern was the shooting, and I thought that they needed to. I thought shooting was basically the number one priority at the deadline. I don't know if they've addressed that. Aiden, you basically said like, look at his best ever shooting season. It's 34%, which doesn't exactly like that's not great. That's still below league average. Like I don't know.
36%.
Oh, you said 36%.
No, I didn't say. I just found out. On 3.5.
So he's moved up to what, like a 1.5 below league average or whatever. Like, I mean, he's a league average shooter in his best ever career year. I think that's not to say he can't become a great shooter. He hasn't really had the opportunity on high volume since the year you mentioned. People can improve. People's games can change. He's getting a lot of open looks. So I think if he's going to hit threes like this, I'm 100% on board. I'm gonna have to delete some tweets. I'm gonna have to change some takes retroactively.
Were you trash talking Thad?
No, but I mean, like I was not exactly ecstatic about it because of the shooting element to it. And if he can shoot well, then fine, I'm on board. If he can't shoot well, then he's just another guy who is not a floor spacer and taking touches away from people who are, frankly, deserve touches more. But tonight, excellent game. I even thought last night he played terrific. He's a better defender than I thought really I ever gave him credit for. And he had a couple nice touch passes tonight. I think he's going to have soon he's going to have like a really wow, like either like a bounce pass around someone or like a no look or little like quick touch pass in transition that people are going to, he's coming up with a viral pass highlight as we speak.
I don't think we can expect him to shoot like this all the time. And nor should we. But
you don't think we can expect him to shoot 100% all the time?
Well, I just mean like I don't think you're going to get him shooting 35% at any like high volume yet. But all I'm saying with that point is that I don't think that should be the way in which we measure the success of him on this team. If he is shooting that just like Precious, then like that just changes it altogether, though.
Yeah, definitely. One of the best parts of the game, there were a lot of good parts of this game. We'd even mentioned the Utah poster poster dunk. We didn't mention that at all. Utah's a
And
guy
block.
that we are like the wrap up family. We are like the biggest Utah supporters in the sense that we're always clamoring for more Utah minutes. Like we need more Watanabe minutes immediately. I don't understand, and we've said this so many times, why he just keeps getting plucked out of the rotation. Some of it has been health issues, but then he's been healthy recently. So I mean, he comes in, he makes a very good impact most of the times. He gets to play on the floor. There's so many guys now on the bench where you think of the future of this team, the future of the rotation. We talk about the rotation a lot. Thaddeus Young, Chris Boucher, Precious Achiuwa, Yuta Watanabe, Delano Banton. All of those names, are guys that Nick Nurse probably wants to give more minutes to, but he also wants to see a little bit more of a sample. I'll ask each of you guys, who are probably the two guys out of those names, Yuta, Chris Boucher, Thaddeus Young, Precious, and Delano Banton, because I'm going to be quite honest with you guys, I'm not mentioning Svi into this conversation. Yeah, I'm not doing it. And then Champagny as well. I mean, I guess, sure. Who are the two bench guys? Let's say you go into the playoffs with a 7 or 8 man rotation. Who are the 2 or 3 bench guys that you probably want Nick Nurse to rely on more than anything? I'll ask Adon first.
Okay, so we're assuming that Pascal, Scottie, Fred, OG, Gary are starting.
Everyone's healthy. Yeah, everyone's healthy. Everyone's starting. Yeah.
And then we
have Boucher, Precious, Thad. I mean,
Delano.
Yeah, I don't know that Malachi is gonna we have to wait and see. I think it's only gonna be Boucher, Precious, and Thad. I think that will be your 8. And then they're just going to have to figure out minutes with the guard. That's why I'd like to see Scottie carrying a second unit guard kind of role, and maybe have Malachi there just to supplement him, but get Scottie the reps of controlling the offense. I mean, Pascal's been doing that as a secondary too, and that works. But I think when push comes to shove, we're going to have 3 forwards on the bench. So that's a cause for concern, but that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I want to say Utah deserves more minutes, which he does, it's just like they're going to cut the rotation down to 8, and I think it's already established. I do want to say I agree with this comment. He is like a fine 10th man. The problem is that we were asking him to be a 6th man. He's good as a 10th man. The 10th guy in the NBA those guys aren't like contributors most of the time. Most teams don't run a 10-man rotation. So
he's also like 23.
Yeah.
And he's never gotten legit minutes. Like I think there is a game in there. Oren hates him too. I've always stuck by him more than I have Malachi. I think like he's 24. He has a nose for the rim more than most. He has a good shot. It's pretty quick. Like I think in 4 or 5 years from now, he's gonna be like he'll still be in the NBA. I think. One thing I forgot about Utah, and I think I've been pushing for Utah to play for like 6 weeks now, and I still don't get it. I don't know what's been going on, but like he could be a playoff rotation guy. He could be like 8 to 10 minutes in a playoff series. Throw him at like Durant or somebody just to make those other guys work for a little bit. Let him get his 3-point back. I think there's space for Utah to play.
Yeah, I'm not going to highlight the comment, but I'm probably with Buster on this one, and with his comment on Z. That's probably as far as I'm going to go. I don't hate him. I just think from what I've seen thus far this season, he's a guy that when you look way forward into the playoffs, obviously hypothetically if the Raptors get there safely, I just don't think you consider him at all for that rotation. And it's tough. Like the question is very tough because you're probably going to leave one guy out. Even if you go to an 8-man rotation, who's it going to be? Are you going to leave Malachi out? You're going to do what Adon says. And remember, things can change as well. Are you going to go with 3 forwards off the bench like Adon said? What are you going to do if you're the Raptors coach? Because at this point, he has 4 or 5 guys playing pretty good off the bench. So it is a difficult question. I think it's time for Taxman. Do you guys want to do Taxman or what do you guys think? This is a bit difficult.
It has to be.
Wow. Okay. Who is it?
It's Scottie. He shot 12 for for 14.
Okay.
He had
Okay.
28 and 16. What are we talking
Fair.
about here? What's going
That's
on?
fair. Okay, so I had it between two guys, obviously Scottie Barnes being one of them. But just considering everything that's gone on this year, for Malachi Flynn to come start his first, I think this is his first start of the year. I don't know. I feel like Scottie, obviously no one expects a 12 for 14 game from Scottie. We've seen 20 point games from Scottie all the time. Is this do we have to have one, guys? Do we have to have one Taxman? Can we do what hockey does and don't they have like a first player of the game and a second player of the game? And
or I'm picturing like, when the king sends like his tax collectors and it's like 7 dude soldiers on horses. We can do that.
Right. We can do that. Exactly. Okay, Aiden, I'm assuming you're with Kyle. It has to be Scottie.
No, I was gonna go Precious.
Okay, this is perfect. This is a perfect scenario now. This is absolutely great.
To me, Taxman isn't like MVP player of the game. I don't know what it is, but to me it's this like nuanced player that like deserves
he deserves a shout.
Representation. Yeah, exactly. He deserves a shout out for some reason or another. I still don't know why.
Yeah, it's like relative to production. Scottie had I'm sorry. Scottie had a tremendous night relative to his production or just in general. I don't know. I refuse to present any other Taxman, so I'm just going to.
Precious had 4 assists.
Okay. See, this like I said, this is absolutely perfect. We have a 3-way tie. I'm going with Malachi Flynn also because I don't want to get any Facebook messages from Eric Flynn because I know he's probably going nuts right now on Facebook. Is Don going to be our tiebreaker, or are we going to have the comment section be our tiebreaker? What are we going to do?
Let's have both.
Okay, Don. We need something. We need you to comment on the Raptors. See, I knew it. He always takes Kyle's side, man. He always takes Kyle's side. Whatever.
It's
no,
that's
okay.
Schmoozing with him at the Christmas party. You guys should have put in the work like I did.
Okay. All right. This guy was working well beyond. Okay, fine. Let's do comments. You guys got to help me out. I can't be the only guy saying Malachi. We got to consider everything here.
D-Ned's got Malachi.
Okay, there we go. Guys, we need like 6 straight comments of Malachi. I got to win this one. Come on. You can't be serious. People are saying DJ was good. Everyone's saying Scottie. Okay, fine. Whatever, guys. Okay, Scottie Barnes is your Can-Am Taxman of the night. Shout out, big shout out to Precious Achiuwa and Malachi Flynn for their games. But we're going to give it to Scottie Barnes. You guys didn't help me out. So that means the next time we have this tie, if you guys go with Kyle again, there's something going on. Can-Am, as you guys know, we say it every single show. They are a sponsor of this show. They are also the best firm to approach when you have any tax questions at all. They have a very experienced staff, a friendly staff. They are, right at the top of the screen. You guys see it with VJ Verma. You can call them at 416-243-2912. 416 number. Nice. I didn't know. I thought those numbers were still hard to get.
I got one of those.
I got a 647, but I mean, it is what it is. Shout out to VJ Verma. Thank you for sponsoring the show. Thank you to Can-Am. Can-Am provides personal tax preparation. They can recover all your refunds. We are right in the middle of tax season, guys. I know you guys are probably getting emails about, the little tax confirmation, things you're getting when you donate to things. I think you know what I'm talking about because I got one today. I'm happy. I'm glad that we have Can-Am with us to support us. But what I'm more glad about is the fact that no, I can't say that because then it's gonna look bad.
Goran sucked.
Yeah, I was gonna say more. I'm more glad that Goran had a terrible game against the Raptors. Okay, what else is there to talk about? Because I know I can do filler. I can do Goran Dragic filler where I can just go off and I can get canceled. I don't mind. Okay, let's check the schedule.
By the way, Buster, they didn't record tip-ins back then. They didn't even record blocks and stuff during Wilt's era. They said Wilt never had more tip-ins. He had 100 points. I'm sure he had more tip-ins. Right. At the time, I think most of those were tip-ins. He had 100 points and 50 rebounds. Like the ball was coming off the rim.
Exactly. Taxman is complete. It is Scottie Barnes. You guys got your wish. It is what it is. Let's take a look at the schedule. Aiden's got to go soon, so we're going to wrap it up very soon. Schedule Brooklyn Nets tomorrow on Tuesday night. We have the Detroit Pistons on Thursday night. It's a back-to-back. And this is the third back-to-back. You got Orlando on Friday night, and then you got the Cavs on Sunday, which I wish was a matinee, but I mean, it is what it is. Guys, looking forward, I think I have 3-1. I think that's where I'm going to go with these 4 games. I think I am going to go win Brooklyn, win Detroit, win Orlando, and Cleveland's such a good team this year, man. Like I didn't really believe in all the hype early on in the season, but I think I'm going to go 3-1. You guys know I'm the safe guy. I'm not. People call me the pessimist, but Kyle, I'm assuming you're going 4-0, right?
Give me 4-0. But listen,
Okay.
my last 4-0 prediction's still on the table.
True.
And the Cavs have no guards right now. I don't think they have Garland. I don't think Sexton is in. Like they don't have. They're playing like G leaguers at the guard position. So I don't know. Maybe it'll be different.
Detroit is playing very well.
Say that again.
Detroit is playing very well. That's the one.
Because they won the first game in 16 against the Hornets, who have also are like 3-7.
They're playing very well. But I would shut down Freddie until Sunday, and then bring him in for Sunday, and then go 4-0. I'm going 4-0 too.
If Pascal's not 100% and he's still sick, I think I'm probably shutting down Fred and Pascal until Sunday. Andrew says 5-0. We're not even showing 5 games, and he's saying 5-0. He doesn't an extra win in he doesn't even know what the next game is after that. He's giving us 5-0. We love that, Andrew. One guy really quick, because I know people have mentioned him. I don't know if this is like DJ Wilson. If you're watching this, because there's like 6 different accounts on here who keep mentioning DJ Wilson, and maybe we just haven't mentioned him enough. Shout out to him. He did well in this game as well. So I'm just gonna say that really quickly before we get a little bit of slander coming our way. It might be DJ, and if it's DJ, you had a great game, my man. You really did. Yeah, I'm gonna go 3-1. Kyle's going 4-0. Aiden's on. Aiden wanted to get his prediction right before he went. Aiden is gone. Don, we're gonna ask you as the substitute for Aiden. Don's our producer, doing everything in the background for us. Don, you got to give us in the comment section what you're gonna.
Don, how dare you?
Don,
don't
take it back.
Don't
take it back, Don. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, good, because I was about to leave. I was about to do it. I was about to do a Goran Dragic, and you guys wouldn't see me for a few months. We're gonna go on that note. We appreciate the wrap-up family.
Yes. I just want to say, SGA tonight. Should I read the box score? People are just
do it. He's Canadian. Do it. We love Canadians on here. Do it.
37 points, 10 assists, 7 rebounds, 12 for 16 shooting for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Bring that man home. He was in a loss as well. Bring that man home ASAP.
Bring him home. I'm fully with you. Just bring everybody home. Jamal Murray, every single. We got Ken Burch here. Just bring everybody. Thank you guys for watching so much. We had well over 200 people here live watching at one point during this show, so we appreciate you guys more than anything. Hopefully you're all Raptors fans, and maybe hopefully Goran Dragic was watching this, and he caught all the slander that he fully deserved. Like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Shout out to Ryan, because Ryan, if you're watching this, we see you in the comments constantly asking people to like the stream. We love you for that. We appreciate you for that. So shout out to Ryan really quickly. About to lose my voice. Thank you to the wrap-up family. This was a big blowout. We needed this, guys. 2 straight losses that did not look good for the Raptors. And here we are, coming off of a Brooklyn Nets blowout win, 133-97. The Raptors' new record in 60 games played is 33-27. This live show was produced by none other than our man, Don Yang. Still not with him for picking Scottie Barnes and that 0-4. We're going to have to talk about that when we're done recording. But that was it for myself, Sahal Abdi. I'm here with Kyle Brickman. Aiden Moss didn't get to say bye to you guys, but he definitely means it. We'll see you guys all tomorrow night. Why was I about to say Wednesday night? Tomorrow night versus Brooklyn. Hopefully it's another blowout. Hopefully. Take care, guys. Be safe. We love you.